हरे कृष्णा। तो आप सभी लोगों का बीइंग द स्पिरिट सोल चैनल पर फिर से स्वागत है। तो आज मैं आपके सामने एक नया तथ्य और एक नए शख्स का खंडन करूंगा। ये खंडन नहीं है, ये बस आपको रियलिटी बताने का है कि कैसे महावाक्यों के नाम पर, उपनिषद के महावाक्यों के नाम पर पाखंड फैलाया गया है हमारे सनातन धर्म के ट्रेडिशन में। ऐसा मतलब जो जो जैसे स्टेटमेंट्स है तत्वमसि, उसका जो इंटरप्रिटेशन किया गया है वो बहुत ज़्यादा गलत है। और जो अद्वैत संप्रदाय वालों ने ट्रेडिशन किया है, पर ठीक है, उन्होंने किया, इंटरप्रिटेशन किया, जो भी किया, चलो ठीक है, हमें उससे भी कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। पर अब होता क्या है ना कि ये जो ज्ञान है वो ऐसे लोग समझाते हैं जो खुद परंपरा में नहीं आते हैं। ठीक है, दिक्कत ये हो जाती है कि आप परंपरा में नहीं हो, आप अपने आप को अथॉरिटी मानते हो और फिर समझाने लगते हो। ये चीज़ गलत है। ठीक है, ये चीज़ बहुत ज़्यादा गलत है। और ऐसा क्यों है मैं आपको सुनाता हूँ, अभी आपको पता चलेगा। तो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं। तो पहले ये देख लीजिए कि ये आपका चैनल है सनातन अधर्मा डिकोडेड। तो इन्होंने ये एक संदीप माहेश्वरी का ये एक वीडियो अपलोड किया था। ठीक है, तो मैं उन्हीं वीडियो से कुछ आपको कुछ बताता हूँ। अब मैं आप पता चलेगा कि क्यों ऐसे लोगों से शास्त्र सुनना नहीं चाहिए और क्यों ये लोग आपको बर्बाद कर देंगे अगर आपकी स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ को, अगर आप इन लोगों को अपना रोल मॉडल बनाएं। और ऐसे बेशर्म लोगों का अगर कोई वीडियो अपलोड करता है तो आप समझ सकते हैं वो मतलब कितना बड़ा पाखंडी है जो स्क्रिप्चर के नाम पर लोगों को ठगना चाहता है। तो चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं और इनके कथनों को सुनते हैं।
हम भगवान में ही हैं, हम भगवान से ही हैं, समझ आ रहा है ना? और फिर धीरे धीरे समझना है कि हम भगवान ही हैं।
ये आप सुने, इनका कहना है कि हमें धीरे धीरे शास्त्र पढ़कर, स्क्रिप्चर पढ़ के ये समझना है कि हम भगवान ही हैं। आप एक बार फिर सुने।
हम भगवान में ही हैं, हम भगवान से ही हैं, समझ आ रहा है ना? और फिर धीरे धीरे समझना है कि हम भगवान ही हैं।
तो ये आप सुन सकते हैं कि ये क्या बताया जा रहा है और स्क्रिप्चर के नाम पर आप लोगों को क्या बताया जा रहा है कि आप खुद भगवान ही हैं। ये आपको लगता है ये सही बात है? ऐसा कंक्लूजन सही है कि हम ये सोचो कि तुम ही कृष्णा हो, तुम ही शिव हो? ऐसा कौन सोचता था? ऐसा हिरण्यकशिपु सोचते थे, ऐसा पांडुरिक असुर सोचते थे। आप श्रीमद् भागवत पढ़े, आपको पता चलेगा। ये सोचना कि हम भगवान ही हैं, ये तो अत्यंत मूर्खता है, अत्यंत मूर्खता। और सिर्फ ये पाखंड यहीं तक सीमित नहीं है, इसके आगे भी है। अब आप कृपया करके इस ऑडियो को भी सुने।
को भी समझ लो कि सरेंडर कुछ नहीं करना है, सिर्फ जो चीजें आपने पकड़ रखी है उसको छोड़। भी समझ लो कि सरेंडर कुछ नहीं करना है, सिर्फ जो चीजें आपने पकड़ रखी है उसको छोड़।
तो आप ये देख रहे हैं, इनका कहना है कि सरेंडर कुछ नहीं करना है। ये सोचो कि तुम ही भगवान हो, बस आपने जो पकड़ रखा है उसे छोड़ना है। अब ऐसी बातें तो सुनने में अच्छी लगती हैं, ठीक है, मतलब लगता है कि जैसे कोई पोएट्री पढ़ रहा हो, ठीक है, शास्त्र के नाम पर ये सिखाना बहुत ज़्यादा गलत है, बहुत ही गलत है। ऐसा मतलब अपने आप को सो कॉल्ड स्पिरिचुअल टीचर बताना जो आप परंपरा में हो नहीं। इन्होंने कभी भी अपने मतलब जो ऐसे लोग जो परंपरा में आते भी नहीं हैं, वो लोग आके हमें स्क्रिप्चर सिखा रहे हैं कि क्या होता है, सरेंडर नहीं करना है, तुम यही सोचना है कि तुम भगवान हो। ये ऐसा आपको सोचना चाहिए शास्त्र पढ़ के? ये स्टैंडर्ड हो गया है हमारे शास्त्र पढ़ने का, शास्त्र अध्ययन करने का, कि हम ये सोचे शास्त्र पढ़ के कि हम भगवान हैं? ये तो अलग लेवल का पाखंड है। और यहां क्या लिखा हुआ है? सर्वधर्मान परित्यज्य माम एकम शरणम व्रज। शरणम, मेरे शरण में आओ, शरणम व्रज। Abandon all variety of religion and just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reaction, do not fear. ये भगवत गीता का मैसेज है और ये जनाब संदीप माहेश्वरी सिखा रहे हैं
भी समझ लो कि सरेंडर कुछ नहीं करना है,
कि सरेंडर कुछ भी नहीं करना है, भगवान है ही नहीं, ये सोचो कि तुम ही भगवान हो। मतलब ऐसे ऐसे लोगों को मूर्खता, मतलब ऐसे मूर्ख बनाया जाता है लोगों को कि कोई क्या बोल सकता है, कोई क्या ही बोल सकता है। आप खुद सोचें शास्त्र क्या है, शास्त्र क्या नहीं है। और इन्होंने पूरे वीडियो में
सिर्फ जो चीजें आपने पकड़ रखी है,
इनका पूरा वीडियो देखेंगे तो इन्होंने पूरा तत्वमसी का एक्सप्लेनेशन देना चाहा है। ये आप देख लेना पूरे वीडियो में, मत ही देखना, नहीं तो आपका स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ बर्बाद हो जाएगा। तो मैं बस आपको अब ये आपको बता रहा हूँ कि आप देख लो सनातन धर्म के विरुद्ध, सनातन धर्म के विरुद्ध ये सब चीज़ मैसेज दिया जा रहा है। और मैं चाहूँ तो इसका बहुत ज़्यादा खंडन कर सकता हूँ, मतलब मैं शंकराभास से प्रूव कर सकता हूँ कि ये जो बताया जा रहा है ये गलत है, ठीक है। पर मैं, ठीक है, वो एक बात अलग है, वो तो मैं प्रूफ कर ही दूंगा। पर मैं चाहता हूँ कि आप ऐसा, इन लोगों को देख के लगता है कि हाँ इन्होंने पढ़े लिखे हैं, अच्छे अच्छे कपड़े पहने हुए, बड़े पोस्ट पे काम कर रहे हैं, तो इनका जो कहना है वो सही है। पर ऐसा है नहीं, ठीक है। शास्त्र तो इन्होंने पढ़ा नहीं है, पोएट्री पढ़ रहे हैं शास्त्र के नाम पर। तो ऐसे ऐसे लोगों का चैनल देखना और जो ऐसे वीडियो को अपलोड करते हैं लोगों को गुमराह करने के लिए, ऐसे लोगों को बॉयकॉट करना चाहिए। ऐसे लोगों को क्यों बॉयकॉट करना चाहिए आप खुद सुनिए। क्यों इन सनातन धर्म डिकोडेड ऐसे चैनल को खुलेआम बॉयकॉट करना चाहिए, जो आपको ये सिखाते हैं वो खुद भगवान है और अंत में ये कहते हैं।
पहली बात तो इसके लॉर्ड की तो बात है ही नहीं, इसके लंड की तो बात है ही नहीं। पहली बात तो
आप खुद देख लीजिए, ये पहले बताते हैं, ये पहले सिखाते हैं आप लोग को, बहुत अच्छे तरीके, स्वीट तरीके से एक षड्यंत्र रचा जाता है इनके चैनल पे कि संदीप माहेश्वरी को दिखाएंगे, फिर भगवान सिद्ध करेंगे, कि उनसे बुलवाएंगे कि आप खुद ही भगवान हो, फिर ये बताएंगे कि शरणागति लेना नहीं है, जबकि भगवत गीता का मैसेज यही है कि भगवान का सरेंडर करो, भगवान के सामने शरणागति लो, भगवान का नाम जप करो, भगवान की पूजा करो। तो ये भगवत गीता का मैसेज है, तो इसके विरुद्ध मैसेज देना कि शरणागति नहीं लेना है और ये समझना कि खुद ही भगवान हो, और फिर बाद में ये बोलना कि भगवान, मैं तो ये गाली बोल भी नहीं सकता हूँ। तो ठीक है, अब मैं आपके सामने तत्वमसी का सही एक्सप्लेनेशन क्या होता है और क्या होना चाहिए वो मैं आपके सामने रखूँगा। तो तत्वमसी का सही एक्सप्लेनेशन रखने से पहले मैं आप लोग को दिखा देता हूँ कि ये पूरा वीडियो जो सनातन अधर्म डिकोडेड ने अपलोड किया था वो तत्वमसी यू आर डैड का ही था, संदीप माहेश्वरी स्पिरिचुअलिटी के नाम पर जो पाखंड है। अब आपने इन लोगों का वीडियो देखने और तर्क सुनने का ज़रूरत भी नहीं है, ठीक है। और मैं अभी आप लोग के सामने वो एक मध्वा संप्रदाय के डिवोटी आपको खुद बताएंगे कि तत्वमसी का क्या एक्सप्लेनेशन है, ठीक है। और वो बहुत डिटेल में बताएंगे, तो कृपया करके उसे ज़रूर सुनिएगा। ये आपके लिए बहुत ज्ञानवर्धक होगा और आपके स्पिरिचुअलिटी में बहुत हेल्प करेगा। तो चलिए वीडियो देखते हैं।
Mr. Sundar Madhekshara is a speaker for today's session. He's currently working at Resolve as the CEO and has been mentored by well-known scholars like Shri Prabhanjanacharya, Shri Kantachar Bayari, and Srinidhi Acharya.
The next topic, which is Tattvamasi. So here, what does Tat Tvam Asi mean? Tvam, Tat Tvam Asi. That's a split of Tattvamasi. It says that he is you. Right? Now, which is he and which is you? We'll come to it. Now, if you interpret this as you are God, that means God, which is meaning of Tat, Tvam, which is you, is Asi, which means you are. So you are him. That's the meaning of this. Now, there is a grammatical error in this interpretation, and we'll come to the grammatical error if you interpret it like this. What is the grammatical error? These two are in different vibhaktis, the words tat and tvam. So therefore, it means that you cannot use them in the same sentence. So that's a grammatical part. We leave it there. But look at what is happening. We are trying to combine opposite virtues. It is like saying black milk, because there is no such concept as black and there is no such thing as milk together. If it's milk, it has to be white. If it's black, then it cannot be milk. So if you try to combine opposites together, then it's an inaccurate reading of the particular sentence. So here, by saying Tattvamasi and interpreting it like God is you and you are God, it is a misinterpretation. Why? Because in a sentence, you cannot combine opposite. What is Tat here? God, who is Paripurna, who is Gunapurna, who is free of all defects. Tvam, which is the soul, is nothing but what is the meaning of the soul? What is the nature of the soul? The soul is incomplete. He is full of difficulties. He is full of negatives and he is full of limitations. So that's the meaning of that is the nature of Tvam, which is the soul, and we have to combine both of them. Now, for every sentence in the Vedas, there is something called a Mukhyartha and there is something called Amukhyartha. Mukhyartha meaning the one which is the central purport of whatever is being said. And Amukhyartha means something which is secondary or in inferred meaning. We should go to a secondary meaning only when the primary meaning is not right or it's not sitting right with the rest of the sentence. Right? So, for example, let us say, it's very clearly said, the court, for instance, has pronounced the judgment. Right? We read this. The court has pronounced the judgment. Does the court pronounce a judgment? No. Right? It is understood or it has to be inferred that the judges sitting in the court have pronounced the judgment. Right? In a meeting, they say, the chair speaks. If a chair were to speak, my God, all of us will just get up and go away. So it's not the chair, it's the person sitting on the chair who is heading that meeting who is going to tell the meaning. So therefore, in Tattvamasi, if it was to mean that God who is full of great qualities is there here, and you, and there is this Tvam, the soul is somebody who is full of limitations. How can you combine the two? Just now we have described God as someone who's got all the qualities and no defects, whereas the soul has all the defects and all the limitations. This cannot be construed together. So this is what it is. So can we move to the next slide, which is about what? So therefore, what is Tattvamasi? What is the accurate meaning? It is all clear once we hear where did this actually come? In the Upanishad, in the Chandogya Upanishad, there is a dialogue which is going on between Uddalaka and his son Shvetaketu. Okay, Uddalaka is a learned sage, and Shvetaketu, again his son, is a scholar. He has mastered, or he thinks he has mastered, all the knowledge in the world, and with that, he's also become a little egoistic. He started thinking no end of himself, and he actually starts thinking of himself as God. Now, in order to prune his son's ego, Uddalaka asks him a simple question. He says, what is that one thing which if you know well, you would have understood everything? What is it that if you know well, you can actually understand everything? So Shvetaketu is a little stumped by that question, and he also realizes that there are a lot of things he doesn't know. So he falls at the feet of his father, asked for forgiveness and asked him to educate him about the world, the universe, the nature of God, and so on. That time, Uddalaka starts to preach to him about various philosophical aspects. In that context, if someone, the word Tattvamasi comes, so Uddalaka is actually trying to tell his son that God and you are not the same. So it is very clear Tattvamasi means God is different from the soul. So therefore, Tattvamasi is actually connoting Abheda. That means is connoting Bheda. That means there are two different things and not connoting Abheda. So what should Tattvamasi be therefore understood as? It should be understood as Tat Sadrishaha. Meaning what? The soul has certain similarities to God. We have described this in great detail in one of our earlier workshops. The soul has some similarities to God. For example, the soul and God both are Nitya. That means they always existed. Both of them are by nature Anandamaya. But the proportion may vary. But the soul and God, both of them have Anandamaya. Both of them are, so you may ask, if both of them are Nitya, how are they different? They are different because soul and God are Nitya. That means they always existed. They are eternal. But the challenge is God is Shashvata. Right? The soul is not Shashvata. So what's the difference between Nitya and Shashvata? Shashvata means that the God, the nature of God, his existence does not change with time. Whereas for the soul, while he existed always, his nature keeps changing. What body he attains can be very different from time to time. So that is the meaning of Tat Sadrisha. Then the other one is Tena Tvamasi. That's the second interpretation. That your existence is because of him. That means Uddalaka is telling Shvetaketu that your very existence is because of God. Tasmat Tvamasi. That's the next one, which is you are there because of his wishes. You are controlled entirely by him. And if he did not have the wish, you wouldn't have been born as well. Then Tasmin Tvamasi. That means you reside in him during the pralaya or during the great annihilation which takes place. All of us, all the souls enter the body of God and we rest there. So that is the meaning of Tasmin Tvamasi. And the last one is Tat Satyam Sa Aatma Atatvamasi, which is to say that God is all powerful, whereas you, the soul, are not. This is the interpretation of Tattvamasi, which sits well with the rest of the Chandogya Upanishads. Yes. So can we move to the next one? Yes. So it's a very interesting part of Upanishads, which is talking about the 9 illustrations that show Veda or difference. So we may all say, okay, look, you are telling me that I am a soul and there is God inside me, but I am not able to see the difference. I am not able to see that there are 2 entities. How do I understand this? The Upanishad itself clarifies it beautifully. It gives us 9 different illustrations. The first one is that let us imagine there's a bird which is tied to a string. So what happens with the tie is that the bird is tied and the bird keeps flying all around, but it's tied to the string. After some time, it comes back to that string, comes back to that pole to which it has been tied. So it tries, it looks around the world and then finally comes back to this. Again, look at this. There is a pole, there is a string, and there's a bird. All of them, it looks like they are one entity. The bird can go anywhere, but its dependence is such that it has to come back because of the string that it is tied to the pole. So that's the first way to understand Veda. The second one is look at the bees. There are bees, honey bees, who keep going and draw that nectar from or the honey from various sources. They sit on a mango tree, they sit on a a jackfruit tree, they sit on different flowers and they extract that honey from all of them. And what do? They go to a honey bee hive and they deposit that honey in that place. If you do that, then what happens to the bees? After some time, all the honey gets accumulated. Now, If you were to tell the bee, can you find out which part of the honey is from which tree? The bee is absolutely stunned. No, there's no way anybody can find out, because now it's all got mixed. So we all know that the honey did not come from one single source, but yet we are not able to find out the difference. Another example of when things, a variety of things have got combined, they look like one entity, but in reality they are not. Look at the rivers joining the sea. Several rivers, they just join a sea. After the water enters, are we able to make out which is the river, which is the water coming from which river? Because several rivers will join an ocean. And can we make out the difference between the ocean as well as the river? No, we can't find out any of this. The tree is cut and it still grows. That's another example. If you look at a tree, you just cut off, chop, slowly you will see shoots coming out. You thought it was dead, but there is something inside which you could not see, which is still alive, and because of which the tree still grows. This is one of my favorite examples, which is the giant banyan tree in a small seed. Right? All of us have seen how big a tree can grow, a banyan tree can grow. Right? Sometimes you stand in front of the tree and you're simply shocked at the size of that tree. But imagine such a big tree, such a gigantic tree has germinated from one single small seed which is there. Can we make out, if someone were to show you this and say, look, there is something inside this, there is a seed, and inside the seed there is this big banyan tree, none of us will imagine. Similarly is the nature of God. If the God is there and He is within us, no matter how big He is, we are not able to see, and we cannot believe that God of such a large proportion can be within us and yet be paripurna even in that small state. But that's an example which clearly says there can be something which is very big and it can be held in one single seed and we will not know the difference. Similarly, salt in the water. All of us have had this experience. Put the salt inside water, it just dissolves. How do we understand that there is salt inside that? By drinking it. The moment you drinking it, say, okay, my God, this water has got salt in it. Or let us make it sweeter, it's got sugar in it. We can't see the difference. Similarly, a blindfolded man who is walking. There is a man who is walking in the forest. He gets caught by the thieves. They tie him up to a tree and they blindfold him. They just take away all his money and then they release him. What does he do? He finds out the place and he's able to retrace his place back. Again, an example of the Bheda that exists. There are many more. We won't have time, but there is one last thing I would like to share, which is the king punishes a thief. Imagine if you are a person who would go to some place and just steal something. Saying, okay, we are all same. Everything here belongs to me, and you take it away. Immediately you get caught. No, they say no. There is bheda. There is a difference. So therefore, you and the owner of a large jewelry shop are not equal. You can't, steal that jewel. So a king here actually punishes a thief or a police punishes a thief because he's stolen. Imagine if some soul were to say he is Brahma and claim that Brahmatva from him, then imagine how much of punishment that person will get. Because we are actually taking Brahmatva, which is the most auspicious quality of the Brahman himself, which is Brahmatva, and we are taking it away from him. We are stealing. Well, anyway, it's not ours, and we will never become Brahma no matter what. But just the act of thinking like that can make us potentially like a thief. So these are the 9 illustrations of Bheda and difference.
Thanks. While you were explaining about these two phases, how do we use this in Anusandhana? Like, do we keep reminding ourselves that we are not Brahman? And how do we take this as a thought so that we don't get detoured?
Yes. Can you, if you can go to the subsequent slides, Santosh, we have tried to summarize it there. Yeah, so there is a quiz here. So, yeah. So we'll come back to the quiz. I'm sorry. We had to jump because Santosh asked me this question. See, the ultimate test for anything, right? These are all different schools of thoughts. They're all schools of philosophy. Everybody is entitled to his own thinking about what this is all about, and they can come to their own conclusions. So I would encourage everybody who is there on the call to actually pick up those parts and study it for themselves in the manner that they would like to, right? Please don't go just by what you're hearing here and there. Make your own inquiry and you will come to the right experience. But if you look at the ultimate test, which is the test of experience, Anubhava, what do you experience? Santosh, you just asked me,
Yeah.
how do you bring it to life? What is the meaning of all this in real life? The point is simple. To start with, and I will answer your question immediately after I complete this. Have anybody, you ask me, how do you bring it to Anusandhana? This is the easiest thing to bring it to Anusandhana. For even a moment, has anybody on this call or anybody anywhere in the world ever felt that they are God? Have they ever felt that they are Sarvashakta, Sarvagnya? Right? These are the attributes of God. Brahman, many people have asked, what is Brahman? Brahman is Paripurna. He is complete in all respects. Have you ever felt complete even for a split second? The moment you say, "Oh, I am Brahma," or "I am great," or "I am God," that very split second, you already have a doubt in your mind over, did I say the right thing or did I say something silly? Because we have not experienced it. When we say Sarvagna, we have not experienced complete knowledge of anything in the world. Forget about everything in the world. So complete knowledge about everything in the universe is Sarvagnatva. Not knowing, being the most knowledgeable person in your classroom, that is not called Sarvagnatva. Sarvashakti means he can do anything. He can create anything at his will. We have no such capability. So how do you bring it? What is the meaning of this? Is that for our sadhana, it is very important to understand this. Because at the end of the sadhana, no matter how much we try, we are all expecting a phala or a fruit. And what is the phala if you are expecting that after your sadhana is done, after your avidya or the the lack of knowledge, if I may say, or ignorance, if I may say, is destroyed. And what will happen at the end? We will become Brahma. That is not purported. That's not going to happen, because we are not going to become Brahma, because that it is not a barrier of knowledge. It is a reality that there is a fundamental difference between the Brahman and the soul. That's number one. Second thing is, when we think of our life like this, we know that there is somebody who is all powerful, who has got a complete control about everything. It has been all our experience. What happens? We say, "Oh, this is impossible. It will never happen," and it happens. Why does this happen? Because there is a larger force which is governing the universe around us. So if we all decide that our upasana, our sadhana, our puja, whatever we want to do, is all directed towards that perfect being who is very different from us, then we know that we are headed in the right direction. Right? So the Upanishads are the ultimate proof. There is absolute, let us not have any doubt about it. And the meaning of Aham Brahmasmi and Tattvamasi is to make the difference between the God and the soul very clear. Right?
तो मैं उम्मीद करता हूँ आपने जो अभी वीडियो देखा और जो तत्वमसी का एक्सप्लेनेशन सुना, वो आपके लिए बहुत ज्ञानवर्धक होगा और आपको स्पिरिचुअलिटी में महावाक्यों के नाम पर जो पाखंड फैला है उसको एक सही तरीके से समझने का मौका मिला होगा। और ऐसे ही हर स्टेटमेंट जो उपनिषद में है और किसी भी ग्रंथ में है, वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ भगवान कृष्ण को ग्लोरीफाई करते हैं और वो ये बताते हैं कि आत्मा कभी भी परमात्मा के बराबर नहीं हो सकती। ठीक है, उपनिषदों में दो स्टेटमेंट है, आत्मा और परमात्मा। तो वो कभी भी आत्मा भगवान की बराबरी कभी नहीं कर सकती, कभी भी नहीं, ऐसा हो ही नहीं सकता है। क्योंकि जो ब्रह्मन है वो क्रिएशन, मेंटेनेंस, डिस्ट्रक्शन करते हैं। अगर आप खुद भगवान हो तो आप स्वयं अभी के अभी सृष्टि का विनाश करके दिखाओ, आप स्वयं अभी के अभी सृष्टि का पालन करके दिखाओ, आप स्वयं अभी के अभी सृष्टि का क्रिएशन करके दिखाओ। ऐसा तो आप कर नहीं सकोगे। पर जो भगवान है, श्री कृष्ण है, वो हर समय, हर वक्त, हर टाइम, हर समय, किसी भी स्थिति में वो ये काम करने में समर्थ है। उनमें ये क्षमता है कि वो ये काम कभी भी कर सके। और ये जो आर्गुमेंट है, ये आर्गुमेंट मेरा नहीं, ये सिर्फ ये वेदांत सूत्र का ही स्टेटमेंट है। और आप इसमें देख सकते हो वेदांत सूत्र शंकरा भाष्य, यहाँ 1.1.2 में ही बोला गया है, ब्रह्मन इज दैट ओमनिशिएंट ओमनीपोटेंट कॉज फ्रॉम विच प्रोसीड द ओरिजिन, सस्टेनेंस एंड डिसोल्यूशन ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड। तो अगर आप खुद ब्रह्मन है तो आप अभी के अभी एक ब्रह्मांड बना के दिखाओ, उसका पालन करके दिखाओ, उसका विनाश करके दिखाओ। अगर आप ये करके दिखा सकते हो, जैसे भगवान कृष्ण ने खुद अपना विश्व रूप दिखाया, विश्व रूप दिखाना, ऊपर से सृष्टि का मेंटेनेंस, डिस्ट्रक्शन, ब्रह्म और क्रिएशन एक साथ ही करना, अगर आप ये करने में समर्थ हो और यह किसी भी समय समर्थ हो पाए, तब आप भगवान कृष्ण के बराबरी अपने आप को घोषित करना। नहीं तो आप तो जानते ही हो इनके लिए भगवान का स्टेटमेंट क्या रहता है।
पहली बात तो इसके लॉर्ड की तो बात है ही नहीं, इसके लंड की तो बात है ही नहीं। पहली बात तो इसके लॉर्ड की तो बात है ही नहीं, इसके लंड की तो बात है ही नहीं। पहली बात तो
आप ऐसे लोगों से ब्रह्म सूत्र सुनोगे जो अपने आप को खुद भगवान बताते हैं, खुद बोलते हैं कि शरणागति मत लो, जो भगवत गीता का मैसेज है। तो ऐसे लोगों को बॉयकॉट करें और सिर्फ वैष्णव आचार्य और वैष्णव डिवोटी से उपनिषद, वेद, पुराण, कोई भी ग्रंथ हो, पंचरात, उसे समझे और उसे अपने जीवन में उतारे। सिर्फ बोले नहीं, आके पढ़ाए नहीं और बड़ा बड़ा बात ना करे और आके वीडियो बनाए कि आपने खुद सुना क्या बोला इसने।
पहली बात तो इसके लॉर्ड की तो बात है ही नहीं, इसके लंड की तो बात है ही नहीं। पहली बात तो
अब ये कितने भी अपने आप को उपनिषद ग्रंथ का विद्वान बोले, ऐसे ज्ञान का हमें ऐसा ज्ञान तो एटलीस्ट नहीं चाहिए कि पढ़ने के बाद हम खुद को भगवान घोषित करें और भगवान को खुलेआम एब्यूज़ करें। ठीक है, तो ये आपके ऊपर है कि आप क्या एडॉप्ट करना चाहते हो और किस मार्ग पर चलना चाहते हो। मैंने तो आपको तत्वमसि का सही एक्सप्लेनेशन बताया। अब ये आपके ऊपर है कि आप इसे अपने हृदय में उतारें और भगवान की भक्ति करें और भगवान के शरणागत होकर अबेंडन ऑल वैराइटीज ऑफ रिलीजन, जस्ट सरेंडर ऑटो मी। भगवान आपका खुद रक्षा करेंगे और आपके सारे सिंफुल रिएक्शन को ख़त्म कर देंगे। ये आपको विश्वास रख के भगवान की भक्ति करें और अपने आध्यात्मिक जीवन को एक सही मार्ग पर ले जाकर उसे सफल करें। हरे कृष्णा।